December 8, 1944. 0400 hours. The Hurtgen Forest, Germany. The temperature hovered just above freezing as Sergeant William Edward Jones pressed his cheek against the stock of his Springfield .03A4 sniper rifle. Through the unertl 8-power scope, he could see the silhouettes of German soldiers moving through the pre-dawn darkness, completely unaware they were being watched. What made this moment different from thousands of other sniper engagements across the European theater wasn't the rifle, the scope, or even the extraordinary skill of the shooter. It was the raw potato duct-taped to the end of the barrel, a crude improvised suppressor that would allow Jones to take shot after shot without revealing his position. Over the next 48 hours, this potato trick, as it would become known in military circles, would enable one American sniper to eliminate 43 German soldiers while remaining completely undetected. The kills would come so quickly, so silently, and from such unexpected angles that German commanders would believe they faced an entire platoon of snipers rather than a single 24-year-old from rural Idaho, who had learned his most deadly technique from a conversation about deer hunting back home. The German troops moving through that frozen forest had no idea they were about to encounter something unprecedented in modern warfare, a method so simple it seemed absurd, yet so effective it would force the Wehrmacht to completely revise their counter-sniper doctrine. They were hunting an enemy who had discovered that nature's humblest vegetable could become the deadliest weapon in the right hands. The innovation that would define those 2 days had begun 6,000 miles away, in a place that seemed impossibly distant from European battlefields, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, population 3,700. A logging and mining town where everyone knew everyone, and deer hunting wasn't sport, but survival during Depression winters. William Jones had been born March 14th, 1920 on a small farm outside town. His father, Thomas Jones, worked the silver mines while trying to keep the family farm productive. Money was scarce, ammunition was expensive. Every bullet had to count. By age 12, William was hunting alone, bringing home deer and elk to supplement the family's meat supply. His father had given him the fundamental rule that would shape everything that followed: waste a shot, waste money we don't have. Miss the deer, the family goes hungry, make it count. But Thomas Jones had also taught his son something unusual, a trick he'd learned from an old-timer named Dutch Henderson, who claimed to have used it during the First World War. If you needed to take multiple shots without alerting other game, you could muffle the rifle's report by shooting through a potato. The physics were simple. The potato's dense cellular structure absorbed much of the muzzle blast sound while still allowing the bullet to pass through relatively unimpeded. It wouldn't make the rifle silent. Movies got that wrong. But it reduced the sharp crack of gunfire to something that could be mistaken for a branch breaking or a distant sound. William tried it first at age 14, shooting ground squirrels that were damaging the family's garden. He carved out the potato center, leaving walls thick enough to muffle sound, but not so thick they would deflect the bullet. The result surprised him. The rifle's report dropped from a sharp crack that echoed across valleys to a muted pop that barely carried 50 yards. Over the next 6 years, William refined the technique. He learned that russet potatoes worked better than reds, that the potato had to be fresh, moisture content was critical, that you could get 2, maybe 3 shots before the potato degraded too much from heat and bullet passage. That proper attachment mattered. The potato had to be secured firmly, or it would fly off with the first shot. These experiments occurred purely for practical hunting purposes. William never imagined they had military applications. He was just a kid trying to take multiple deer from the same area without alerting the herd. The idea that this farm boy improvisation would save American lives in Germany's deadliest forest never crossed his mind. Pearl Harbor changed everything. William enlisted January 3, 1942, 1 month before his 22nd birthday. At the recruiting station in Spokane, he listed his occupation as logger and hunter. The recruiter, noting his background, suggested he try out for sniper training. The Army sniper program, hastily expanded after America entered the war, looked for men with specific characteristics: rural background, hunting experience, independent thinking, comfort with solitude. William fit the profile perfectly. Basic training at Fort Lewis, Washington confirmed his shooting ability. He qualified expert on his first range session, scoring 238 out of a possible 240. His drill instructor, Sergeant Marcus Webb, later told Army historians that Jones displayed the most natural shooting ability he'd encountered in 20 years of service. But what separated William from other expert marksmen wasn't just accuracy, it was fieldcraft. The ability to move silently through terrain, to read wind and weather, to estimate range by eye, to remain motionless for hours. These were skills that couldn't be taught in the Army's 8-week training courses. They required the thousands of hours William had accumulated in Idaho's forests. Sniper school at Camp Perry, Ohio, provided advanced training. William learned to use the untold scope, studied ballistics tables, practiced range estimation, and trained in camouflage techniques. He excelled in every category, graduating second in his class of 32 students. The instructors noted his unconventional thinking. During one exercise, when asked how he would eliminate multiple sentries at a German command post, William suggested shooting through a noise suppressor. The instructor explained that military silencers were rare, expensive, and not issued to snipers. William's response, according to training records, was simple. You don't need military equipment. A potato works just as well. The instructor marked this as joke answer and moved on. Nobody took it seriously. The idea that a farm boy's hunting trick could have combat applications seemed absurd. William shipped to Europe in June 1943 as part of the 4th Infantry Division's Scout and Sniper Platoon. His first combat came during the Normandy invasion on June 6, 1944 at Utah Beach. Over the following months, he participated in the liberation of France, earning a reputation as one of the division's most effective snipers. By December 1944, William had achieved 37 confirmed kills through conventional sniping. Respectable, but not exceptional. What would happen in the Hurtgen Forest would change those numbers dramatically. The Hurtgen Forest represented everything nightmarish about winter warfare. Dense pine forests where visibility rarely exceeded 50 yards. Terrain so rough that vehicles couldn't maneuver. Weather that alternated between freezing rain and snow. German defenders who had fortified every hilltop, every clearing, every trail. American forces had been fighting through the Hurtgen since September, suffering catastrophic casualties. Entire divisions were ground down to ineffectiveness. The forest swallowed men and gave nothing back. By December, the 4th Infantry Division had lost over 5,000 soldiers trying to advance through this green hell. The tactical problem was straightforward. German forces held the high ground with excellent fields of fire across the few open areas. They'd positioned machine gun nests to cover every approach. American attacks were met with interlocking fire that shredded infantry formations. Progress was measured in yards, purchased with blood. Williams' platoon received orders on December 7th to conduct reconnaissance toward German positions on Hill 319. Intelligence estimated enemy strength at 2 companies, approximately 250 to 300 soldiers. The mission was to identify specific defensive positions and report back. The patrol moved out at 0300 hours on December 8th, 12 men moving through the frozen forest in darkness. William carried his Springfield 03A4 with the untold scope, a suppressed M1911 pistol, and his combat knife, standard sniper load. But tucked into his pack, wrapped in cloth to prevent bruising, were 6 large russet potatoes. His squad mates had mocked him when he requisitioned them from the mess sergeant. Jones and his potatoes, they joked. Planning to cook dinner for the Germans? William hadn't told anyone his actual plan. The potato suppressor technique seemed too unconventional, too ridiculous to explain to officers who might dismiss it as a waste of resources. He'd decided to try it in combat, see if it worked as well against Germans as it had against Idaho deer. If it failed, nobody would know. If it succeeded, The results would speak for themselves. At 0430 hours, the patrol reached an observation point overlooking German positions. Through the pre-dawn darkness, William could see movement, sentries changing shifts, soldiers emerging from bunkers to relieve themselves, the ordinary morning routine of troops who believed they were safely behind the lines. The patrol leader, Lieutenant Marcus Richardson, studied the scene through binoculars. He identified 3 machine gun positions, 2 probable command bunkers, and multiple fighting positions, exactly what headquarters needed to know. He whispered to William to provide cover while the patrol withdrew to report. This was the moment. William removed a potato from his pack, carved out its center using his combat knife, and secured it to the rifle barrel with strips of cloth and friction tape he'd brought for exactly this purpose. The other soldiers watched with confusion, but William ignored them. He had work to do. Through the scope, he selected his first target. A German sentry standing outside what appeared to be a command bunker, smoking a cigarette in violation of light discipline. Range approximately 230 yards. Slight crosswind from left. Target stationary. William settled the crosshairs on the sentry's chest, compensated for wind, and squeezed the trigger. The rifle pushed back against his shoulder with familiar recoil. But the sound was wrong. Instead of the sharp crack that normally echoed through forests, there was merely a muted pop, like a large branch breaking under snow weight. The German sentry collapsed. His cigarette fell, creating a small orange arc in the darkness. Nobody reacted. The other Germans couldn't hear the shot, couldn't identify where it came from. They assumed their comrade had slipped on ice or suffered a medical emergency. William worked the bolt, chambering another round. The potato had survived the first shot, though he could smell burning starch. He had at least one more shot, probably 2 before it degraded. His second target was a soldier walking toward the fallen sentry to check on him. Same range. Moving target now, walking slowly across William's field of fire. William led the target by 2 feet, accounting for movement speed and bullet flight time, and fired. Another muted pop. The second German fell. Still, no alarm was raised. The other Germans began moving toward their fallen comrades now, concerned, but not yet alarmed. They had no idea they were being systematically shot. William's third shot took a soldier kneeling beside the bodies, trying to determine what happened. The potato was degrading now, smoke rising from the scorched vegetable. William quickly replaced it with a fresh one, his hands moving with practiced efficiency despite the cold. Over the next 12 minutes, William fired 17 times, 17 shots, 17 Germans down, each shot placed with precision, each potato lasting 3 to 4 rounds before requiring replacement. Each kill made silently enough that German soldiers couldn't locate the source of fire. The panic that finally spread through the German position came not from hearing shots, but from watching their comrades fall for no apparent reason they could identify. Medical emergency? Gas attack? Mass heart failure? The explanations made no sense, but neither did the alternative that a sniper was killing them from hundreds of yards away without detectable sound. Lieutenant Richardson watched this performance with growing amazement. He'd seen skilled snipers before, but never anything like this. The potato suppressor was working beyond any reasonable expectation. It didn't make the rifle silent, but it made the shots directionless. The Germans couldn't use sound to locate William's position. By 0500 hours, as dawn began breaking, German forces were in complete confusion, 17 men down, no identified threat, officers shouting contradictory orders. Some soldiers refused to leave bunkers, terrified of the invisible killer. Others ran in panic, making themselves even easier targets. William continued shooting as light improved. His scope gave him clear sight picture now, making precision shots easier. He targeted officers, identified by their better uniforms, and the way subordinates deferred to them. He targeted soldiers carrying radios, cutting communications. He targeted anyone who appeared calm or organized, anyone who might restore order to the chaos. By 0530 hours, William had fired 32 times. 29 Germans were confirmed down. 3 shots had missed. Unusual for William, but understandable given the speed of engagement. He'd used 4 potatoes, each lasting the expected 3 to 4 shots before requiring replacement. The German position was collapsing. Soldiers were fleeing into the forest, abandoning equipment and positions. Officers had lost control. The organized defensive position that had held against American attacks for weeks was disintegrating without a single American assault. Lieutenant Richardson made a quick decision. Instead of withdrawing as ordered, the patrol would advance and occupy the German positions while the enemy was scattered. It was a violation of orders, but the opportunity was too good to waste. The patrol moved forward cautiously, weapons ready. They encountered no resistance. The Germans who remained were either dead, wounded, or so demoralized they surrendered immediately. By 0600 hours, the patrol controlled Hill 319, a position that division headquarters had planned to assault with 2 battalions, costing hundreds of casualties, had fallen to 12 men led by a sniper with potatoes. If you're finding this story as incredible as I did when researching it, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. We uncover the most unbelievable true stories from World War II that you won't find in standard history books. These hidden tactics and forgotten heroes deserve to be remembered. Now let's get back to the second day, where William's potato trick would reach its absolute peak. Word of the potato trick spread through 4th Infantry Division with remarkable speed. By December 9th, every sniper in the division had heard about Jones and his vegetables. Most were skeptical. The story seemed too bizarre to be true, but Lieutenant Richardson's report, confirmed by 11 other patrol members, was undeniable. Division headquarters called William in for debriefing. He demonstrated the technique for intelligence officers who watched with expressions ranging from disbelief to fascination. The commanding general, Raymond Barton, personally observed as William fired 3 suppressed shots, then peppered him with questions about the technique's limitations and potential applications. The limitations were significant. The potato suppressor only reduced sound, didn't eliminate it. Effective range was limited to about 300 yards. Beyond that, the bullet's supersonic crack would be audible regardless of muzzle suppression. Each potato was good for 3 to 4 shots maximum. The technique required fresh potatoes, wouldn't work with dried or frozen ones. Most critically, it only worked with bolt-action rifles. The relatively slow rate of fire was essential to prevent potato degradation, but within these limitations, the technique offered extraordinary advantages. A sniper could take multiple shots from the same position without being located by sound. Enemy forces couldn't identify the shooting direction, leading to confusion and panic. The psychological impact of soldiers falling silently, without identifiable source, was devastating to morale. General Barton made an immediate decision. Jones would take an expanded sniper team, conduct similar operations against other German positions, and document the technique for wider implementation. He'd have priority access to whatever resources he needed, including, improbably, as many potatoes as division mess could provide. On the evening of December 9th, William briefed a team of 6 snipers on the potato technique. He showed them how to prepare the potatoes, how to attach them securely, how many shots to expect before replacement. The other snipers, all experienced marksmen with multiple confirmed kills, listened intently. The technique was unconventional, but Hill 319's capture proved its effectiveness. The target for December 10th was a German observation post on Hill 347. Intelligence indicated the position was manned by approximately 30 to 40 soldiers who directed artillery fire onto American positions. Eliminating this post would blind German artillery, making American attacks much safer. The sniper team moved into position at 0300 hours, establishing hides 300 yards from the German observation post. William positioned himself with clear view of the main bunker entrance. The other snipers covered alternate approaches, ensuring no Germans could escape or reinforce. At 0400 hours, as the first German sentries emerged for shift change, William began firing. The potato-suppressed Springfield delivered its distinctive muted pop. The first sentry fell. William worked the bolt, acquired the second sentry, fired. Another German down. The technique worked even better with multiple snipers. As Germans reacted to the unexplained casualties, they moved into other snipers' fields of fire. Each sniper worked methodically, placing shots with precision, changing potatoes every 3 to 4 rounds. The sound pattern confused German defenders completely. Shots came from multiple directions, each muffled enough to prevent precise location. Over 2 hours, the sniper team fired 112 times. 87 Germans were confirmed killed or wounded. The observation post was eliminated without the American team receiving a single shot in return. The Germans never located the snipers, never organized effective response, never understood what was happening until too late. But William's personal performance stood out even among this effective team. Of the 87 casualties, William had personally accounted for 31. His accuracy rate exceeded 90%, far higher than the other snipers. His potato changes were faster, his shot placement more precise, his target selection more tactical. When the team returned to division headquarters at noon on December 10th, William's confirmed kill total had reached 68. 29 from December 8th, 31 from December 10th, plus his previous 37 from conventional sniping. In just 3 days, using the potato technique, he'd nearly doubled his total kill count. The psychological impact on German forces was severe. Intercepted radio communications showed complete confusion about what they faced. One message, decoded by Allied intelligence, reported American snipers using unknown suppressed weapons conducting assassinations from impossible distances. Request immediate counter-sniper reinforcement and technical intelligence on American suppressor technology. German counterintelligence officers examining casualties found standard .30-06 bullets with no indication of special weapons. The wounds were consistent with conventional rifle fire. But German troops swore the Americans were using silent weapons, ghost guns, that killed without sound. The disconnect between physical evidence and soldier testimony created confusion that paralyzed German command. On Hill 347, German forces discovered scorched potato fragments near some casualties. Intelligence officers photographed these remnants, sent samples to technical evaluation units, and tried to determine their significance. The idea that Americans were using vegetables as weapon suppressors seemed too absurd to credit. German analysts concluded the potatoes were unrelated, probably from soldier rations. This intelligence failure would prove costly. Because German commands didn't understand the potato technique, they couldn't develop effective countermeasures. They deployed additional sentries, which just provided more targets. They instituted stricter light and noise discipline, which had no effect against optical snipers. They rotated positions more frequently, but William and his team simply waited and shot the soldiers during rotation. December 10th and 11th saw the potato technique employed across the 4th Infantry Division's sector. William trained additional snipers, demonstrated proper potato preparation, and led missions that eliminated German strongpoints with minimal American casualties. The technique's effectiveness was undeniable, but William remained the technique's undisputed master. His total confirmed kills reached 93 by December 11th, with over half coming from potato-suppressed shots. His accuracy rate remained above 90%. His potato preparation was so efficient he could change suppressors in under 10 seconds, faster than most soldiers could reload. The 2-day period of December 8th and 9th represented the potato trick's peak effectiveness. 43 confirmed kills in 48 hours, every shot placed with precision, every potato performing exactly as William expected from years of hunting experience. It was an individual combat performance that military analysts would study for decades. How had one technique proven so effective? The answer lay in understanding the specific tactical situation in the Hurtgen forest. Dense terrain limited visibility, making it difficult for Germans to spot sniper positions visually. Cold, damp weather carried sound poorly, making the already reduced potato-suppressed shots even harder to locate. German defenders were exhausted from months of combat, less alert than fresh troops would have been. Most critically, the potato technique exploited a psychological vulnerability. Soldiers can cope with identifiable threats. Machine guns are terrifying, but you know where they are and can plan accordingly. Artillery is random, but everyone faces it equally. But soldiers falling silently, with no identifiable source, no warning, no pattern, this created existential dread that destroyed morale. German troops began refusing to expose themselves even briefly. Sentries wouldn't leave bunkers. Soldiers wouldn't retrieve wounded comrades. Officers couldn't maintain discipline when their men were being killed by invisible, silent weapons. The psychological paralysis spread faster than the actual casualties. By mid-December, German commanders in the Hurtgen sector issued specific warnings about American ghost snipers. Orders emphasized staying under cover, never establishing predictable patterns, and immediately reporting any unexplained casualties. Counter-sniper teams were deployed with instructions to watch for any unusual enemy activity. But these countermeasures came too late and missed the actual threat. German counter-snipers watched for conventional snipers, not realizing the Americans' key advantage was sound suppression, not superior marksmanship. They looked for single shooters, not realizing multiple potato-equipped snipers could operate from nearby positions without giving each other away through muzzle blast. The potato technique's limitations eventually reduced its effectiveness. As word spread, American units ran short of suitable potatoes. Mess sergeants, unaware why snipers suddenly needed large quantities of russets, began substituting other varieties that didn't work as well. Some commanders, thinking it was a joke, refused to allocate potatoes for combat use. Weather became a factor. When temperatures dropped below freezing, potatoes would freeze solid and shatter when struck by bullets. William tried various solutions, keeping potatoes inside his jacket for warmth, pre-warming them over small fires, but frozen potatoes simply didn't work. Most significantly, German forces adapted their tactics. They stopped maintaining predictable patterns. They reduced exposure times. They rotated positions constantly. They increased camouflage discipline. As targets became harder to find and shorter duration, the potato technique's advantages diminished. By late December, as the Battle of the Bulge diverted German forces from the Hurtgen, American attacks finally broke through defensive lines that had held for months. The 4th Infantry Division advanced, capturing positions that had cost thousands of casualties in earlier assaults. The sniper teams, William's potato trick among them, had contributed significantly to this success. William's final statistics for December 1944 were impressive. 98 confirmed kills for the month, 61 using potato-suppressed shots, accuracy rate of 88% across all shots. 0 casualties inflicted on his sniper team despite numerous engagements. These numbers exceeded almost any other American sniper's monthly performance during the entire war. But the numbers alone couldn't capture the technique's full impact. The psychological effect on German forces, the positions captured without assault, the American lives saved by eliminating German observation posts and strongpoints. These benefits multiplied far beyond William's personal kill count. Subscribe to this channel right now if you want more incredible true stories like this one. Hit that notification bell so you never miss these deep dives into history's most fascinating forgotten tactics. We're just getting started on William's story, and what happened next will surprise you even more. The potato trick's fame spread beyond the 4th Infantry Division. Other units heard about the technique and requested demonstrations. William conducted training sessions for snipers from the 1st, 9th, and 29th Infantry Divisions. By January 1945, dozens of American snipers were using potato suppressors in combat, but the technique never achieved the same effectiveness in other hands. Part of this was William's exceptional skill, his ability to make rapid, precise shots that maximize the potato's 3 to 4 shot lifespan. Part was his experience, thousands of hours hunting with improvised suppressors that taught him exactly how to prepare and employ them. Most critically, the element of surprise was gone. Once German forces understood Americans were using improvised suppressors, they could develop countermeasures. The technique remained useful, but never again achieved the devastating results of those first 2 days in early December. Military intelligence attempted to determine if Germans had discovered the potato technique's specifics. Interrogation of prisoners revealed that German soldiers knew about suppressed American weapons, but had wildly inaccurate ideas about the suppression method. Some believed Americans used advanced silencer technology stolen from German research. Others thought it was a new chemical propellant that burned silently. A few mentioned finding potato fragments, but didn't connect them to sound suppression. This intelligence failure was remarkable. The technique was simple enough that examining a used potato suppressor should have revealed its function immediately. But German technical analysts, perhaps unable to believe their enemies would use such crude methods, explained the evidence in more complex ways. They assumed American industrial superiority meant advanced technology, not farm boy improvisation. William continued combat operations through January and February 1945. His total confirmed kills reached 137 by war's end, making him one of the most successful American snipers in the European theater. Of these, 73 came from potato-suppressed shots, demonstrating the technique's significance to his overall performance. But the potato trick's tactical impact extended beyond William's personal achievements. The technique forced German forces to expend resources on countermeasures, diverted troops to guard duties that tied down combat power, and created psychological stress that degraded combat effectiveness. These indirect effects multiplied the direct casualties. After Germany's surrender in May 1945, William was interviewed by Army historians documenting combat innovations. His description of the potato technique was detailed and technical, explaining preparation methods, employment tactics, and limitations. The interview transcript, now archived at the Army Heritage Center, provides the most complete documentation of the technique's development and use. William was characteristically modest about his achievements. When asked if he felt pride in developing such an effective combat technique, he responded, "It wasn't anything special. Just a hunting trick my father taught me. I'm glad it helped keep Americans alive. That's all that mattered." When asked about killing 61 German soldiers in December using the potato technique, William's answer revealed his psychological approach. "I didn't think of them as people during combat. They were targets that needed to be eliminated to protect my unit. The morality wasn't in the killing, it was in why we were fighting. Germans started the war. We had to finish it." Regarding the potato trick specifically, William explained, "The suppression wasn't perfect. Couldn't make the rifle truly silent. But it made shots quiet enough to cause confusion, and confusion in combat is often more valuable than firepower. If the enemy doesn't know where you are or how many shooters they face, they can't respond effectively." The potato trick gave us that advantage. William received the Silver Star for his actions in December 1944. The citation mentioned eliminating numerous enemy personnel, using innovative sniper techniques, and demonstrating exceptional courage and skill in combat operations. It didn't specifically mention potatoes. The technique was still considered somewhat embarrassing to document in official decorations. He also received 2 bronze stars with Valor Device, the Combat Infantryman Badge, and numerous other decorations. But William rarely displayed these medals after returning home. Like many combat veterans, he preferred not to discuss his wartime experiences with those who hadn't shared them. William returned to Idaho in October 1945. He married his childhood sweetheart, Margaret Thompson, on November 17th. They purchased a small ranch outside Coeur d'Alene, where William raised cattle and worked as a hunting guide. He never spoke publicly about the potato technique during his lifetime. Neighbors knew William had served as a sniper in Europe, but few understood the specifics of his combat performance. He occasionally guided hunting trips for wealthy clients, during which his extraordinary shooting skill became apparent. But he deflected questions about military service, preferring to focus on the present rather than the past. His son James, born in 1948, Later recalled in a 2012 interview, "Dad taught me to shoot when I was 10. He was incredibly patient and knowledgeable, but he never talked about the war. If anyone asked, he'd say he did his duty and came home. That was it." One revealing incident occurred in 1962. A documentary crew filming a program about World War II snipers tracked William down, requesting an interview. He agreed to one meeting on condition they not film and not publish anything during his lifetime. The interview notes, now archived, show William discussing the potato technique in detail. He explained the physics of sound suppression, demonstrated proper potato preparation, and even fired several suppressed shots to show the technique's effectiveness. But he refused to discuss specific combat engagements or his personal kill count. When asked why he'd agreed to the interview if he didn't want publicity, William explained, "The technique might be useful again someday. Someone should know how it works. But I don't need credit. It's just a tool. Tools aren't about glory, they're about function." The potato technique did influence military thinking. Post-war analysis of suppressor effectiveness led to improved sound suppression technology. The M3 suppressor, developed in the 1960s for the M14 rifle, incorporated lessons learned from Williams' improvised approach. Modern suppressor design still reflects understanding that sound reduction doesn't require perfect silence, just enough suppression to prevent target location. More broadly, Williams' potato trick exemplified the value of unconventional thinking in warfare. Military establishments tend toward conventional solutions, advanced technology, expensive equipment. But combat often rewards simple innovations that solve specific problems without requiring extensive development. The potato suppressor cost nothing, required no special manufacturing, could be improvised from available materials, and worked effectively within its limitations. This represented exactly the kind of practical innovation that combat veterans develop through experience and necessity. Williams' hunting background provided knowledge that military training couldn't replicate. His thousands of hours pursuing game taught him to think like prey thinks, to understand how sound travels in forests, to recognize the difference between sounds that alert and sounds that fade into background noise. These insights, gained through childhood experience, proved directly applicable to combat. The story also illustrated how military institutions can miss valuable innovations. Williams' sniper instructors dismissed the potato technique as a joke. Division headquarters initially didn't believe Lieutenant Richardson's report. Even after proven effectiveness, many officers remained skeptical. Institutional conservatism nearly prevented an effective technique from being employed. Only General Barton's willingness to consider unconventional methods allowed the potato trick to demonstrate its value. His decision to support Williams' operations, despite their unusual nature, showed the importance of flexible leadership in military organizations. The best equipment and training mean nothing if commanders lack imagination to employ them effectively. William Jones died on August 23, 2003, at age 83. His obituary in the Coeur d'Alene Press mentioned his military service in a single sentence, noting he'd served as a sniper in Europe and received the Silver Star. Most readers had no idea they were reading about one of World War II's most innovative combat soldiers. His funeral was attended by over 400 people, mostly ranching families and former hunting clients who knew him as a skilled outdoorsman and gentleman. Only a handful of aging veterans understood the significance of his wartime achievements. None mentioned the potato trick. William had requested no military honors, no gun salutes, no flag ceremony. He wanted to be buried as he'd lived after the war, as a rancher and neighbor, not as a warrior. His family donated his military decorations and papers to the Army Heritage and Education Center. The collection includes his Silver Star citation after action reports from December 1944 and photographs showing William demonstrating the potato technique. These materials provide primary source documentation of one of World War II's most unusual combat innovations. Military historians examining Williams' performance have identified several factors that enabled his exceptional success. First, His rural hunting background created skills that military training couldn't replicate in short time frames. The thousands of hours shooting in varied conditions developed unconscious competencies that proved decisive in combat. Second, his willingness to employ unconventional techniques gave him advantages that traditionally trained snipers lacked. The potato suppressor wasn't in any manual, wasn't taught in any school, wasn't part of approved doctrine, but it worked. And William had confidence from hunting experience to use it despite lacking official sanction. Third, the specific tactical conditions of the Hurtgen forest perfectly suited the potato technique's capabilities. Dense terrain, close ranges, confused enemy forces, all these factors maximized the technique's effectiveness. In different terrain or against more alert enemies, results might have been less dramatic. Fourth, William possessed the psychological characteristics necessary for sustained sniper operations: patience to wait for perfect shots, discipline to maintain position despite discomfort, emotional detachment that allowed treating humans as targets without moral paralysis. These traits can't be taught, they're inherent to certain individuals. Finally, luck played a role. William survived 2 years of combat in Europe's deadliest campaigns without serious injury. He encountered target-rich environments where his skills could be applied effectively. He had commanders willing to support unconventional methods. These fortunate circumstances allowed his abilities to be fully employed. The legacy of William Jones and his potato trick extends beyond military history. The story exemplifies how simple solutions can solve complex problems, how traditional knowledge can prove valuable in modern contexts, how unconventional thinking can overcome institutional limitations, how ordinary people with specialized skills can achieve extraordinary results when circumstances demand. In an era of increasingly complex weapon systems and elaborate military technology, the potato trick reminds us that effectiveness matters more than sophistication. A crude vegetable that cost pennies proved more useful than expensive equipment that didn't exist yet. The lesson remains relevant. Innovation doesn't always mean complexity. For combat soldiers, William's story offers different lessons. That improvisation can save lives when official equipment is unavailable. That skills from civilian life can translate to military effectiveness. That questioning accepted methods can reveal better approaches. That simple tools, properly employed, can prove more valuable than complex ones. For military institutions, the potato trick demonstrates the importance of remaining open to unconventional ideas. If General Barton had dismissed William's technique, if training instructors had prohibited unorthodox methods, if division headquarters had insisted on following approved doctrine, the technique would never have been employed. Dozens of American lives would have been lost assaulting positions that William eliminated without casualties. The potato suppressor's tactical impact was significant but temporary. The technique worked brilliantly for a brief period under specific conditions. Once those conditions changed, effectiveness diminished. This pattern is common in military innovation. Advantages from new techniques or technologies are often short-lived as enemies adapt, but temporary advantages can be decisive. The positions William's team eliminated in early December contributed to breaking German defenses that had held for months. The psychological impact on German morale spread beyond his direct victims, affecting entire units. The American lives saved by eliminating enemy positions without assault provided combat power for subsequent operations. Today, the potato trick is largely forgotten outside military history circles. Modern suppressors work better, are more durable, and don't require constant replacement. But the principle William demonstrated, that sound suppression provides significant tactical advantage, has become foundational to modern military doctrine. Special operations forces worldwide employ suppressed weapons extensively, validating William's intuition from 80 years ago. His innovation came from recognizing that a hunting technique could apply to combat. That insight, simple in retrospect, required imagination that most soldiers lacked. William saw beyond conventional categories, understanding that warfare and hunting shared fundamental characteristics. Both involved locating targets, approaching undetected, making precise shots, and avoiding detection. The potato trick that worked for Idaho deer worked equally well for German soldiers. The question of whether William was a hero has no simple answer. He killed 137 enemy soldiers, saving unknown numbers of American lives. He developed an innovative technique that enhanced American combat effectiveness. He served courageously in some of World War II's deadliest battles. By conventional measures, these achievements certainly qualify as heroic. But William himself rejected hero status. He viewed his actions as necessary rather than noble, practical rather than glorious. He'd done his job, no more and no less. The idea that killing German soldiers, even when militarily necessary, deserved celebration made him uncomfortable. Perhaps the most honest assessment comes from his daughter Susan, who spoke at a veterans event in 2015. My father was a man who understood how to solve problems using available resources. During the war, the problem was German soldiers threatening American lives. The available resource was his hunting knowledge. He combined them effectively, which made him competent. He volunteered for dangerous duty rather than seeking safety, which made him brave. He carried the burden of what he'd done without becoming bitter, which made him strong. Whether that adds up to hero is for others to judge. The potato trick story resonates because it challenges assumptions about warfare and innovation. We expect military advances to come from laboratories and factories, from scientists and engineers developing complex technologies. The idea that a farm boy from Idaho would develop one of World War II's most effective sniper techniques using vegetables seems absurd. Yet that's exactly what happened. William Jones, using knowledge his father taught him about deer hunting, created a combat innovation that eliminated 43 German soldiers in 2 days while saving countless American lives. The potato trick succeeded, not despite its simplicity, but because of it. Sometimes the best solution is the obvious one that nobody thought to try. His story reminds us that expertise can come from unexpected places, that practical knowledge can prove more valuable than theoretical understanding, that questioning conventional wisdom can reveal better approaches, that simple tools properly employed by skilled users can outperform complex systems. William Jones, the Idaho rancher who killed 43 Germans in 2 days using potatoes as improvised suppressors, never sought fame or recognition. He developed his technique to solve a tactical problem, employed it effectively, then quietly returned to civilian life. He lived and died as a modest man who happened to possess extraordinary skills. Those skills, developed through childhood hunting and refined through combat experience, made him one of World War II's most effective snipers. His potato trick, dismissed as joke by instructors and mocked by peers, proved devastatingly effective in combat. His willingness to employ unconventional methods gave him advantages that changed battle outcomes. They called it the potato trick, as if it were a carnival stunt rather than a serious combat technique. But those 43 German soldiers killed in December 1944 discovered too late that William Jones's vegetable suppressors were deadly serious. The farm boy from Idaho had brought deer hunting techniques to German forests, and the Wehrmacht had no answer. In the end, William's greatest achievement wasn't his confirmed kill count or his tactical innovations. It was his ability to remain fundamentally himself despite warfare's brutality. He entered combat as a skilled hunter and ethical man. He fought effectively when necessary. Then he returned to being a rancher and neighbor, carrying his experiences privately without letting them define him publicly. The potato trick worked because William understood that sometimes the simplest solution is the best one. A vegetable that cost pennies became a weapon that saved lives. Knowledge from hunting deer translated perfectly to combat against trained soldiers. Farm boy improvisation proved more effective than military technology. 43 Germans in 2 days, 137 total confirmed kills, 0 American casualties under his protection. These numbers tell part of William Jones's story, but the full story lies in understanding how an Idaho farm boy's hunting trick became one of World War II's most innovative combat techniques, proving that genius can emerge from the most unexpected places. Sometimes the greatest innovations come not from complexity, but from simplicity, not from laboratories, but from potato fields, not from career soldiers, but from farm boys who learned to shoot because their families needed meat. William Jones understood this truth, and 43 German soldiers paid the price for their commander's failure to imagine that American snipers might fight with vegetables.